Welcome to Swolehammer. We spent a lot of time with Age of Sigmar 3rd edition, and with 4th edition officially on the horizon, I wanted to take a retrospect and count the ups and downs of 3rd edition Age of Sigmar. Starting with the launch box Dominion, that was a big up from us. Fantastic value, and at the time, 2 over 1,000 point armies at your disposal was such a great value, including almost entirely new models from the Cruel Boys, and even for the MSRP at the time, is frankly an insane box. Onto the Cruel Boys range, and while I wanted to cheat here and give it a kind of midpoint, I will give it an up. Even with middling rules, the Cruel Boys are some of the cruelest models in Age of Sigmar, and really showed a more imaginative version of the Auric war clans. Onto a down, and I'm not going to harp on this one, but the double turn stayed, and it's staying in 4th edition. Sure, there's a lot of reworking being done, but if you have to rework a mechanic that much to make it functional, that's probably a bad idea. Another down, and we have small heroes galore. 3rd edition Sigmar is doing what 10th edition 40k is doing now, and releasing tons of small heroes as the new model for a faction. A lot of these factions didn't need more heroes because they're so heavy on heroes and only have 2 unit options that it makes no sense. This choice would have made a lot more sense if in 4th edition heroes led units like they do in 40k and Heresy, etc. But they don't. So it's a down from us. Unfortunately, we keep going with the negatives, and it's the GHB for another down. We went from what I considered pretty solid foundation rules for 3rd edition Age of Sigmar, and every single GHB kind of shifted the meta so heavily the game became unfun in one way or another. From Galician Vets to Merciless Blizzards, none of the choices were really well implemented, creating huge gaps of time, people praying and waiting for something new to make the meta better again, and then something miserable would be reintroduced with the next GHB. Also, again, just harping back to the double turn and them trying to find ways to make it interesting to not take it, and obviously that not panning out very well. Probably the biggest down of 3rd edition is Kronspine, also known as Crutch Spine. This model was horrendously designed, super undercosted, and really gave the illusion of power to a lot of underpowered factions for most people. And thankfully, the negative impact from people who played Sigmar pretty much nipped Incarnates in the bud. Another addition to the downward spiral of 3rd edition is the inconsistent battle tone. While some battle tomes like Slaanesh really hit the nail on the head with the flavor while being thematic and powerful, a lot of battle tomes either just felt like really quick rewrites or just lost all flavor and got the power creep instead. The perfect example of this is Gloomspite Gitz versus Beasts of Chaos. Both battle tomes came out pretty much at the same time. While Beasts of Chaos had 6 artifacts and 6 command traits for the entire book, Gloomspite Gitz had 8 artifacts and 12 command traits. Things like that really just made this edition's battle tomes really boggling at times. Finally, back to an up for 3rd edition, and we have spectacular new model ranges. From Seraphon to Cities of Sigmar to Flesh Eater Courts, we got fleshed out model ranges for a bunch of factions, and those models look so damn good. From plastic Croxigors to a new Mortarch, these models really signify what's cool about Sigmar, and it's just the imaginative craftsmanship of how GW makes their models. Back to another down, and we have Regiments of Renown. Simply put, I usually just don't like allies in a lot of these games, but then making the allies stronger than they function in their own armies kind of just seems backwards. But on the flip side, I like the Armies of Renown a lot because they gave more sub-factions in a lot of cases for those battle tomes that didn't seem fleshed out, like I said earlier, and just new ways to play. Even though they were restrictive, they gave a lot more options for factions that really needed it. And in this case, I like having those restrictive workarounds because they bring back that theme and flavor for like Ironjaw's Gore-Grunta Stampede or the Gorger Maw Pack flavored one. Back to one of our downs, and it's Battle Scroll Cringe. While there were worthwhile updates like updating old battle tactics or giving new battle tactics, they're easier to score for really outdated armies like the Cruel Boys, it also becomes baffling when the developers don't understand basic math. Points changes were given kind of willy-nilly for factions and ultimately kind of gave the illusion of change, while there's a lot of just too little too late for some factions and other ones just never got touched, making each update kind of subtly a frustrating experience to read through. And lastly, and unfortunately, we end on a down, which is the Dawnbringers series. Sure, some of the models and resculpts are very sweet, and the boxes themselves have decent value. However, I am hard pressed to really give the thumbs up to anything that gets rules so late in an edition, similar to 9th edition World Eaters, where it's 6 months from a new edition, and then all those rules and everything you spend money on kind of become defunct. I'll also roll the Dark Oath release into here because they just came out way too late in the edition for anyone to care. And now we have Araxia coming out in 2 weeks from the recording of this video, pretty much at this point stalling the release of 4th edition, which is what we all care about. And at the end of all this, we end our list with 4 ups and 8 downs, a pretty brutal outlook on 3rd edition Age of Sigmar, but that's where we landed. Although Sigmar is a game with beautiful models, it also has some of the worst gameplay of GW games, at least in 3rd edition. Ironically, following the trend of 9th edition with a lot of power creep and more muddled and muddled rules, we can only look to 4th edition Age of Sigmar, where it seems like they put a lot more thought and effort into how rules and terrain and all that interact with each other, which makes us frankly excited. So I hope you enjoyed. As always, this is Rafik from Swolehammer. Stay swole.